Hello and welcome to Citizen McCain. I am Miranda Wilkins. Megan is still out on maternity leave, and we are hoping that she and Ben. Oh my gosh, that is my laptop. I'm rolling the stream on my computer. Ah, facade is broken. Okay, we're welcoming everyone into our show today, and we're hoping that Megan and Ben and her family are braving the Arctic tundra that is DC. If you've seen any of those pictures, it is horrendous. Ice sidewalks and those giant bricks of whatever that is. I don't know. I don't want to be living in it. That's why Mo and I live here in LA, where it is 85 degrees and we're running the air conditioner. So can't relate. Sorry to everybody else. Kristen, you live in Texas, right? Is that right? Yeah. Let's say you're in like a halter tank top, so it looks like you're probably doing okay. So anyway, as you can see, my guests are Mo Kelly and Kristen Colonel Kurtz. Mo is Spectrum News and BBC Radio political contributor and host of the Mo Kelly Experience podcast, and you can find him at Mr. Mo Kelly on Threads and Instagram. And Colonel Kurtz, also known as Kristen Lacefield, is a cultural and political commentator and independent new media journalist. Find her at Colonel Kurtz 99. And oh, my notes cut off. You're on YouTube, Instagram, X, everywhere. You're at Colonel Kurtz 99. So, um, I want to get started with, I think, the news that's on top of everyone's mind, which is just the never-ending rabbit hole of craziness that is this Epstein documents file drop. They say it's the last one, so I think we have a lot to go through. Not us necessarily. I only handpicked a couple of things, but the DOJ dropped this insane amount of files on Friday of last week, and it's like 3.5 million new pages. A ton of it's redacted, and there's a lot of stuff that's mixed in that's looks like it's not what it is. There's images, videos, emails. Most of it's cut out as far as like identifying information. Is that a lot of it's just Jeffrey Epstein's vacation account is what it's called. And the archive now is brought to this insane amount of volume. And they made it so massive that it's inquantifiable. You can't even try to figure out what's important because it's so massive. So it's the names, it's the timelines, it's the proximity to power, I guess would be the overarching theme of this. And it's like high profile figures, Bill Gates, Andrew Mountbatten, the former prince of, the UK, Elon Musk, Donald Trump. And the context is that being named does not automatically mean wrongdoing. So that's our blanket immunity statement here for whatever we want to talk about. But a lot of these references are just logistical things. Some are social, unverified allegations, and just a lot of deeply uncomfortable associations and just like embarrassing things like we can get into the Elon Musk girls for the win and all of that. Um, Melinda Gates has publicly said the revelations tied to Epstein in her personal life and her former husband have been devastating. Bill Gates has acknowledged that his relationship with Epstein was, quote, a huge mistake. Can we play the Melinda Gates clip? I'm sorry, I think it's cut number one, talking about how just sad she is for everything that's gotten out. Because it was revealed
Should
that
ever
Bill
be
Gates
put
gave her an
in the
STI and she
situation that
was
they were put in
rejected.
by Epstein and whatever was going on with all of the various people around him. No girl. I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking, right? I remember being those ages those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? So for me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage, but I have moved on from that. I purposely pushed it away and I moved on. I'm in a really unexpected, beautiful place in my life. So whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
Well,
And I am so happy to be away from all the muck
I wonder what your dominant emotion is when you read these news articles with these details.
Sad. Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth, right? And it's kind of like, at least for me, I've been able to move on in life. And I hope there's some justice for those now women, right? We see them standing up in front of microphones in D.C. What they went through is just unimaginable, I think.
So the story with Melinda Gates, for anybody who's or former Melinda Gates, is for anybody who's not familiar, is we see this in the email drop. Bill Gates contracted some kind of STI from Russian sex workers and gave it to his wife. And he was begging Epstein for some kind of secret way to dose her with antibiotics that she wouldn't find out. And when she found out, she left him. So Mo, with millions of documents finally coming out, and we can see how many powerful people were still in Epstein's orbit after his original conviction for sex trafficking and pedophilia. What does this say about elite accountability in our country?
There's very little accountability for the quote unquote elites in our country. Powerful people know powerful people. Powerful people will party with other powerful people. And there's something which has really not been discussed, how often people have lied about their level of connection, their frequency of connection, the reasons for their connection to Jeffrey Epstein. If you want to talk about Elon Musk, where he wanted to deny that he had any real relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And then the documentation shows that he wanted to go to the island and had an ongoing, at least communication relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. You could talk about Howard Lutnick and how he denied any connection to Jeffrey Epstein. And he was another person who wanted to go to the island. And if you take the politics out of it, if you just talk about power, powerful people are rarely held to account. And even with this deluge of 3 million documents on top of the other millions of documents that you talk about, the voluminous amount, there has been no accountability. Yes, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton will testify. It will go nowhere. No, nobody will be held accountable other than shamed publicly, like we're seeing with Bill Gates.
Do you think that the Bill and Hillary holding out to testify without being held in contempt or whatever the, you know, threat was there is more of a way to get more files or information brought to light in the wake of discovery, or is this just everything's gonna be sealed and it'll be a private hearing and none of this is ever gonna be more information is gonna be brought to light?
I think it's a combination of both. You're going to have Bill, I presume, make references to previously undisclosed information, meetings, gatherings, things that you have to assume that he knows things, and by extension, Hillary knows things that the general public does not. Bill Clinton has publicly said he is calling for the release of the totality of the files. In other words, people who are doing dirt know about the other people that they are doing dirt with. I don't know about the level of involvement or alleged criminality of Bill Clinton. I know his hands are not clean, but I
Right.
also know that his willingness to testify publicly puts other people in his sphere of influence, makes them very uncomfortable because you don't know what he's going to say or who else he's going to implicate.
Kristen, I don't know how we can reconcile Epstein's relationship with Steve Bannon, um, and especially seeing this dump, and I don't know, I mean, I assume you probably went deep in the rabbit hole too. Seeing their Ghislaine, how obsessed she was with Reddit, and Jeffrey Epstein and Steve Bannon, and how they essentially started 4chan and the political channel there, and I've seen a lot of connections made that could say that maybe they started the Pizzagate original QAnon conspiracy, and this is, all just a thought web connection. So everybody bear with me. Um, that maybe they started the pizza web conspiracy theory against Hillary Clinton and used it almost as like the ultimate Uno reverse, as look over at her emails because we don't want you in our emails, and don't look at our guy, look at her, and Donald Trump is going to save you, but actually we're the ones really doing all this stuff that we're accusing her of doing. Is there anything to this theory that we're seeing play out on social media? And I mean, obviously nothing can be done because what we're seeing is anybody who could do anything is pretty much involved. So, what say you? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it seems like just as a general rule that sleaziness and sexual misconduct, it does not know party lines or party boundaries. And so I'm not surprised. I would not be surprised to know that that there are any number of people on the right, perhaps including Steve Bannon, who have been trying to cover their tracks by means of deflection. The problem, as others have said, with this Epstein file dump is that none of this has been processed officially through a court of law or through a judge or jury. And so this is everything we're getting is raw evidence, if you will. It's unfiltered. And so it's really difficult to know what's credible and what's not. And of course, there are a lot of people whose names have been mentioned in the files who are totally innocent but are being branded guilty merely by association. And we have to remember, and I'm not trying to let anyone off the hook, but we have to remember that Epstein was a billionaire. He was highly connected at all levels of the political system, of the entertainment industry, etc. And so you're going to have a lot of people in these files, a lot of people named who are innocent. However, that being said, there's sure a lot of shady stuff in there as well. And I think, like for instance, when it comes to the Bill Gates story, what that is actually, as people may know, is that Epstein liked to write emails to himself almost as a form of, it seems like note taking or diary, as a
Mhm.
diary entry almost. And in one of these emails, apparently he or a friend of his had had a falling out with Bill Gates. And so he was cataloging in this email some of the wrongdoing, the shady stuff that he said Bill Gates had engaged in. And one of these was evidently, or at least we should say allegedly, contracting an STI from a Russian girl, a Russian hooker, or God help us, maybe an underage Russian girl, but a Russian woman. And then inquiring with Epstein apparently as to how to get antibiotics or how to put antibiotics into his wife's food without her detecting it. Now, this again could also just be a total lie. I'm not sure why Epstein would put it in would write an email to himself with a lie, but it could be. But also, when you look at the history of, for example, Bill Gates, he has a pretty checkered history when it comes to these types of things. There are some sexual harassment allegations against him that Microsoft had to sweep under the rug and settle. He is on record as saying that once a year he goes to a cabin. I can't remember if it's in the woods or it's by the sea with an ex-girlfriend. This is just something that he and the ex-girlfriend have talked about openly. He, all during his marriage, had a ritual of yearly spending a long weekend with an ex-girlfriend in a cabin alone to rejuvenate their friendship. Well, I don't know
What
about
in
you
the
all.
world?
Look it up. Look it up. It's the woman is, I believe, a scientist, or maybe she's also a tech guru. And they dated for a while, were in love, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. And so supposedly, he claims, or this woman claims, that Melinda, his wife, would allow him once a year to go and have a long weekend, a getaway alone with this ex that he still absolutely adores. So when I look at a situation like that, a guy who has several sexual harassment allegations against him, who had, it seems, an unconventional love life and perhaps difficulty with monogamy, some of these things, these such as the Epstein allegation, become to me not so far fetched. And Melinda Gates is basically endorsed this. She said repeatedly that Epstein was one of the reasons why her marriage fell apart. So I don't know. I'm always on the side of innocent until proven guilty. But I guess what I'm saying is when it comes to these different allegations and these different names and these files, we probably have to look at them on a case by case basis. Bill Clinton, for example, is there any doubt
We've
really that Bill
seen
Clinton?
pictures. I mean, it's not illegal to get a massage, but when you've seen so many pictures of unconventional massage locations, I will
Yeah,
say in just like the most polite terms, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I mean,
right.
you know, we're women. I'm probably just like the most boring person in the entire world. This all sounds very strange to me. I've lived in LA specifically, like very close to Hollywood my entire life. I've been invited to very weird parties. Mo, you've worked in the entertainment industry forever. I'm sure you've been invited to very weird parties. I'm incredibly antisocial. I don't like to leave my house. I don't even like to go to the grocery store. So I've gone to maybe a couple weird parties where I'm just like, ugh, and I just leave. It is not my vibe. It's not my scene. So, you know, I can't imagine any of this being something that I'd get roped into. Um, that said, I get why guys like it because a lot of this is the stuff that, you know, guys like. Some guys, not all guys, obviously, but like this seems so bizarre. And it kind of wraps into the Elon Musk stuff where he's just like so desperate to go to the island. He's like, my wife doesn't care. My wife doesn't mind. And he's so desperate to get there. Um, I don't really know where I'm going with this. It's just so bizarre. And you know, we have some questions from the audience. Uh like EJ Murillo says, and along the lines of Bill Clinton, if it's all a Democratic hoax, not that I think it's a hoax, but that's what we keep hearing from people, not even just the Trump administration, but even just regular everyday people on every in the world on social media and in the news saying that this isn't even real, so much of this is fake. Um, why not expose everything and let it humiliate whoever it needs to humiliate aside from survivors or victims and the enemy, so to speak.
Powerful people protect, excuse me, powerful people. And if you're dependent upon powerful people to implicate themselves and bring themselves to account, then that is a fool's errand. If the people who are charged with investigating are also the same people who are charged with divulging the Epstein files, are the same people who are found in the Epstein files, then we're wishing, it's an impossible wish to think that that will ever be fully disclosed. And power transcends politics. When you're talking about powerful people, you're talking about entertainment, you're talking about inclusive of politics, but you're talking about a very small group of people who have their tentacles in absolutely everything. You can call it the billionaire class, but it's more than just the billionaire class. It's about people who have access to power, proximity to power. And this is not anything new. And I say this as someone who used to work in the music industry you talked about. I've seen some things. I've been to Diddy parties, not the Diddy parties, but I've been to the pre-Diddy parties. I've partied with R. Kelly. And these were some of the open secrets that we knew about going on in the industry on just on a very small level. I can't even conceive of what was going on the Bill Gates level, the Bill Clinton level, or the Jeffrey Epstein level. I say all that to say, if you want the quote unquote police be responsible for divulging everything that the police have been doing, then you are kidding yourself.
I mean, like the Murdaghs couldn't even get the police to do stuff in their town. So for anybody to think that, and that's the people in, what is it, South or North Carolina, the
South
guy that
Carolina.
murdered his whole family, and wife and son, like when it's a small town and it's a wealthy family, the cops won't do anything. So to expect police to do anything about billionaires, Bill Gates, these names that are front page on the New York Post is irrational, delusional, and it's, you know, Pollyanna, quite frankly. It's nice. It would be nice. But I mean, the only way to do that would be for, and I'm not endorsing this, I would like it, but I'm not endorsing it for, the people. We, the people, would have to do something. Um, Kristen, from a civil liberties perspective, because I know you're a libertarian, do these slow-rolled releases do anything to rebuild public trust, or do you think it's more of like a selective outrage fatigue factory? Because it's like it feels like these drops have been strategically timed for when people may be at their limit. So it's kind of like drop this, and then people will kind of be angry about it for a week, and then it's going to be gone. Oh, and we lost her. Okay, same question to you, Mo, because it's like it's the ICE raids, and now the Epstein. It's like all the stuff in Minneapolis. Now this, and now the Super Bowl's coming. It's like everything is kind of, and not that it's all any of this is all on the same level. It's all kind of like apples and sandwiches, but all this is happening at the same time, and it just seems like I can't. There's not enough stuff for me to be thinking about. It's too much.
There's a political answer to that, and there's a social commentary around that. So let me deal with both. Politically, this is done intentionally because all of us have a limited amount of bandwidth. We can't care about everything. We can't intellectually process everything. Maybe you're more inclined to feel something about what's going on in Minneapolis. Maybe you're more focused as far as what's going on at the Super Bowl and the Grammys, but you can't really care about everything. It's our job to care about everything and to know about all this, but I don't believe the average American is trying to tune into everything. It's stressful. It bothers my blood pressure. It bothers my mental and social well-being to cover all these things. So politically, I understand where you want to not necessarily distract, but deflect and diffuse a lot of this focus on one thing or a few things. Now, the social commentary is, where do we as Americans and a country want to be in 6 months? Because I don't believe that we can continue on this trajectory. It's too much. It's too much chaos. It's too much calamity. It's too much of Americans fighting other Americans. And I don't believe that you can continue. So if you look at it through a political lens, there's a strategy to it. If you look at it through a social lens, I would be very distressed at what we see and what we're experiencing.
Okay. Kristen? Do we have you?
Yeah. Sorry. Do I sound okay now?
Oh my gosh, you sound and you look so great. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. So I was having some weird issues on my phone, so I changed over the computer. But I did miss some of what you were saying. I'm sorry. You're talking about Minneapolis, or are we still on Epstein?
Where it's kind of all a mix. So I was saying that it's like the timing of the drops feels strategic in sort of like an outrage fatigue cycle.
Yeah.
Sandwich in between. And I don't want to say that the Super Bowl is an outrage, whatever, but it just almost feels like we're being set up to not care about anything. It's like an apathy cycle between what's happening with ICE in Minneapolis, this, and then the upcoming Super Bowl is we're setting ourselves up for another social media outrage cycle, as far as I'm concerned. So, it just
I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I know that that it's definitely exhausting. And I look, the Epstein thing was not handled well by the Trump administration. Even if you're a Trump fan, it was not handled well. And so I think some of this is just that people are already aggravated at the way that this was conducted. It seemed completely haphazard at best, or maybe intentionally obfuscatory at worst. So I just don't know. I know that people have definitely had enough, and I know we were going to talk a little bit later about the polling that was done, where it indicates that more people think that Trump is doing a worse job or is less successful than Biden. And so I just want to say, I think all of this feeds into it. There's the Epstein stuff, and then there is what's going on in Minneapolis. And I don't think, whichever side you're on with the Minneapolis situation, it's definitely generated a lot of outrage on both sides, in a sense that things are out of control.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to go to Reynolds. He's had his hand up for a little while, so I don't want to cut off his wings with this if he has something he wants to say. Reynolds, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you
Hi,
hear me?
Reynolds. Yes, I can hear you. Welcome. What did you want to say to us?
Say so the Epstein thing, and I think it'll die down now that you've released over 3 million files. I know reporters will take a month to go through it all.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I think it'll die down. But if you look at it like Davos, if you ever watch CNBC, they always will mention, well, the hookers are in town. So, and then you have like the Republican National Convention, Democratic National Convention. Every newspaper just does an article about the amount of prostitutes who come in town for the
Talking
week
about the
of the
Super Bowl,
convention.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so people are outraged, but no one really does anything about it because it keeps happening over and over and over again. So, I mean, and that's terrible because no one's, I mean, the national media is like, oh, well, this is what happens when the rich people get to Davos. You got to bring in the prostitutes.
Yeah.
And it's just like a sidebar of who cares? It's just what happens when you get a group of rich people together.
So are you
They
saying
get to
the
make up
answer
their own
might
rules.
be to federalize and decriminalize sex work?
No, but what I'm saying is if you think something's going to change, you're wrong because the people keep doing it over and over again and they sort of normalized it. Like the media normalizes sort of this sex work and everything else, saying, well, this is just what happens. And you get a bunch of rich government officials together and billionaires together.
Is
You
it the
need to bring
media
in the
normalizing it,
prostitutes.
or is it the people who are patronizing it?
I think both.
Because it's already happening. So I think
I mean,
reporting on it is what's making it more known instead of keeping it in the shadows. It's being brought out to light so that people are aware that this is happening.
Yeah, but you don't have anybody in the media going to the Swiss government demanding that they put a stop to it or anything like that. There's no,
I'm not familiar
me-
with the Swiss laws regarding sex work and prostitution.
yeah, I don't either. But, it's just that sort of normalization, I think, that some people just, I don't know, they just don't care as much. But as for the Minneapolis thing,
Yeah.
I think that's going to fall off the head. That's going to fall off the headlines with Tom Homan doing what he's saying, that the police are now going to start working with ICE, with criminals and so forth. So I think he's going to take the pressure down a lot. I think it had a lot to do with like the business community in Minneapolis were getting upset because there's just so much news going on in Minneapolis. But like, I don't hear anybody where I live talking about Minneapolis that much. Like, it's not that big of an issue outside of Minneapolis, I don't think, except for diehard people on the far left and far right.
Well,
I think 90% of people don't really care that much.
Well, I was just going to push back on that a little bit. I mean, great comments. Thank you. But like, even I'm hanging out with my mom, and she is not, no offense to her, but she would admit this. She's not politically in the know or politically astute. And yet she was saying to me, what is going on in Minneapolis? It's like an apocalypse there. And so I think whatever side you're on, quote unquote, and there are a lot of us who feel like the whole thing is a mess. That, I mean, I am pro-immigration reform. I do think that that certain activities that ICE is taking part in are legit, but then I don't think that things should be allowed to escalate to the point where you've got citizens getting gunned down on the street. And I think probably a lot of people are like that. They feel like, okay, we want immigration reform, immigration control, but we don't want this, especially those of us who are libertarian in nature.
Mm-hmm. And Mo, what did you want to say? Your earlier point?
Yeah, I'm a libertarian. I'm a libertarian too.
Hang on, Reynolds. Mo was trying to make a point.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
No, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where you can't care about everything. You can't emotionally be attached to everything. And I get the sense that after a certain point, people will limit the amount of information sources and they'll pick and choose. And there are people who do choose to tune out and may not be as well versed in what's happening in Minneapolis. But Minneapolis is an example of a story which is broken through. I try not to predict what the media is going to be covering next week or 2 weeks, or what's going to die down or not, because if past is prologue, the news turns over so much we don't know. There may be another Jeffrey Epstein revelation that we may come to find out in the next few weeks, which changes everything. There may be another revelation or an incident in Minneapolis which changes everything. So I would be loath to predict what the future is going to be or what should be important to everyone. I will say that this chaos and calamity, again, is not good politically, but I do know that there's also a strategy to this, because highlighting Reynolds' comments, people can't care about everything. So they're not going to care about Minneapolis and Jeffrey Epstein equally. So the political strategy is clear in that regard. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that makes
I
sense.
agree with you.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
too.
Okay, thank you, Reynolds. Speaking of, Kristen, you brought this up, the bad polling numbers for Trump. We can get into that. This new Harvard Harris poll is showing that he's down 2 points compared to Biden's on job performance, with 51% of people saying that he's doing worse. And that's a flip from December when he was ahead. And this slide is showing up on the economy too. In December, half of voters said that the economy was better under Biden, and now that's to 47%. Nearly 6 in 10 independents say the economy is actually worse. Is this the kind of early warning sign that starts shaping midterm outcomes?
Well, it's the economy stupid, and it's always been the economy stupid. And I do think that there are a lot of people who feel like Trump has lost sight of that. And again, like I know that immigration as an issue is tied to this, especially for a lot of people on the right. But I feel like I felt like during the first Trump administration, even with all the Russiagate BS and even with all the gossip and salacious stories surrounding Trump, I feel like his voters really felt like Trump tried to do what he had been elected to do for the most part. And I feel like this time around, that even people that I know on the right, not everybody, but a lot of people that I know on the right feel like he's kind of taken his eye off the ball. And I mean, what the hell is with the Venezuela invasion? I still don't understand why that was in any way necessary. I mean, I'm still stuck back there. Like, why are we talking about Greenland? What?
Yeah, it seems like a bizarre fantasy, weird game of Risk that he's playing in his head.
That's a
I
good way of
don't,
putting it.
I don't quite get it either. Mo, when independents start souring on the economy, how dangerous is that for an incumbent heading into the midterms?
Oh, it's very dangerous. And I would take a more of a 30,000 foot look at where we are and the polls. You know, I talk about this all the time. I don't necessarily put stock in polls because emotions change, situations change, but bigger picture, if you look at how the Trump administration is responding to the moment, the Trump administration is concerned at least how Americans are feeling about the economy, the change in strategy as far as Minneapolis and ICE, the Tom Homan working with local officials, the removal of some 700 ICE officers. That says to me that the negative portrayal of what's happening in Minneapolis has impacted how the Trump administration is moving forward. And in addition to that, when the Trump administration, I don't mean to get ahead of the conversation, but it's a part of this answer. When the Trump administration is doing things in Georgia or talking about nationalizing voting, clearly the midterms are on the mind of this administration right now. And that says to me that there's a sensitivity and a lack of elasticity that they thought was there. They thought that they had more room to work with that is no longer there. So if anything, the Trump administration is concerned about the midterms even now, having nothing to do with the polling. I think the polling may be reflective of their concern.
Kristen, do you think that this shows that economic perception matters more than raw data? Like, inflation might be lower than like pandemic highs, but people are still feeling more squished. It's like grocery store psychology.
Absolutely. I think that's dead on right. And I don't think that people, whatever the raw data says, I don't think that people feel like the economy is steady or is stabilized, or I don't think people are optimistic. I think people have a very negative feel. And I understand, you know, every generation feels this way. Oh, things are going downhill, and et cetera, doom and gloom. But I mean, you know, sometimes we'll go to like McDonald's or whatever down the street, and my friends and my family and I will be like, what? How can just a cheeseburger and a fry cost this much? Like, I guess what I'm saying is along the lines of what you're
Yeah.
saying. There's still that sticker shock that's occurring. And also, my perception, and I think the perception of a lot of people, is that Trump has taken his eye off the economy. Like that, you have to have like a laser focused eye on that. And then, of course, you can mess with the cultural issues too, to solidify your base or whatever, get people worked up. But I think that with the Venezuela invasion and all the talk of Greenland and the missteps, I think, in dealing with ICE and, firing Christine Noem, which I think needed to be done. But all of this just seems like a lot of drama that is not focused on the economy. And I think a lot of people still are wondering, like, do we have the luxury economically of all of this other stuff? Like, shouldn't we again be focused on economic issues?
Well, it was another month without a jobs report, right? And the interest rates didn't move. He's in the middle of trying to fire Jerome Powell and bring in this guy from Canada, right? So there's a lot of, like you said, instability in the
Hmm.
economy. So I don't blame anybody for, I mean, this was, in December, but I wouldn't blame anybody today for especially thinking like, oh, I don't want to buy a house. I don't want to buy a car. I don't know what the heck's going to happen in the
Right.
next 6 months. Yeah. Mo, anything to add before we jump into Minneapolis?
Yeah, just generalities, and people sometimes want to argue these topics with their heart or their political allegiances, and I try to keep it very non-specific. Um, Generally, whatever a president does is going to create concern, or is going to or going to allay fears. And the president right now is creating more concern than allaying fears.
That's
If
right.
you're if you are concerned about the economy, all these pronouncements and obsession with, let's say, the Trump Kennedy Center, quote
Yeah.
unquote, or things which have nothing to do with the pocketbook issues
Nothing
or
to
the
do with
day-to-day
anything. Yeah.
issues. You don't care about Minnesota. You don't care about Venezuela. But you do care about what's right there in front of you. And if you're not hearing your concerns being addressed by any president, I'm not talking about this president, I'm talking about any president, that is a cause for concern. And you can talk about the history where any majority party usually loses seats in the midterm. This president knows that, and every previous president knows that. So there are a lot of headwinds and negative momentum which are gaining ground and momentum against this administration in the here and now. Not that they can't turn it around. I'm saying that it's moving in a direction where they're losing the people who were ardent supporters in 2024.
I can see the comments in the
Yep.
chat are really popping off. If you guys want to talk to us, please raise your digital hand. We will call on you. We want to talk to you.
There's a
And
great,
since
I just wanted to point out too, I'm not going to mention her name, but well, just Whitney. There's a great point that she makes here. She says, I'm a registered Republican voter in a Texas county, stay-at-home mom, and the election was during our ice storm. And she says, I made it a point to get out and vote against the Trump-backed candidate just to send a message to his administration.
wow.
Not only are polls showing disapproval, but hopefully they will see the disapproval in elections as well. So, I mean, to me, that's a really telling comment there.
That says everything. I mean, and honestly, that's the kind of stuff we want to talk to you guys because your voices need to be heard. I please raise your digital hands. We want to talk to you. Because I think, and this speaks to the poll we just said that you guys are not happy, or 6 in 10 registered independents like me. I think like Mo and Kristen, you're a libertarian, and I think you said independent too. So like people are not happy with what's going on. Before we jump into another topic, thank you, Ashley. Where did my read go? Okay, let's talk about Quince really quick. It's my dad's birthday in a couple of days, and he doesn't watch this, so he's not going to know. I got him. He works at Warner Brothers, and he sits in this like air conditioned little box where he's editing all the old movies to digitize and put on HBO Max. And it's teeny and it's air conditioned and it's freezing. So I got him all these really cute cashmere polos from Quince, and they are so soft and they're going to keep him so warm when he goes between air conditioned and a million degrees in Burbank. And they're so soft because everything he's got is like, dad's that's like a million years old and he's been wearing it for 30 years. So I'm so excited to give them to him because he's going to be so surprised, and they're beautiful. Like, not only are they really, really soft because they're, cashmere and they're gorgeous, but he can take care of them at home. He's not going to have to be running back and forth to the dry cleaner or, making my mom or God forbid me do it. But they're really nice and they weren't crazy expensive. They're a great price point. It's quality made to last. This is why Quince is better than high-priced competitors. I'm not spending $300 on a polo shirt, one polo shirt for my dad from some high-priced department store or online app just to get it, and it's like sewn diagonal. No, thank you. So they got safe, ethical factories. It's the highest quality materials that hold up season after season. I've got a ton of this stuff in my closet. It's the best. I also ordered just like because I can't stop myself. I honestly spent way too much money. I ordered my girls a bunch of pajamas. They're so cute because they had like a BOGO deal. And they are just the cutest stuff. So refresh your wardrobe with Quince. It is supposedly going to be the spring soon. That groundhog saw his shadow, so I can't speak to everybody, but here it's already sudden summer. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/McCain for free shipping on your order with a 365-day return. Now available in Canada too. And that's QUINCE.com/McCain to get free shipping and a 365-day return. QUINCE.com/McCain. Okay, we can get back into it. Thank you guys. So in Minneapolis, about 700 of the roughly 3,000 federal officers deployed around Minnesota will be now withdrawn. This was announced earlier this morning at a presser hosted by Tom Homan. I think we have that clip. If we can get that set up, it is number 10, please. Okay, just one second. Thank you, guys. I sprung
The
that
need
on
for
you.
less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment. I have announced effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel.
So I was reading some updates last night on what's been going on in Minnesota that's not widely being reported. And you know, everybody who thinks ICE is doing just like the best job can feel free to believe me or not. But some of the stuff that's being reported is like these agents are patrolling and getting in clashes with local law enforcement. They're acting like actual law enforcement that are police. They have been pulling over and pulling guns on off-duty officers who are not in uniform and asking to see their citizenship papers, not believing them that they're cops. It's like one of them, an actual like Minneapolis police officer reported that they got guns drawn on them by these Border Patrol agents. So letting you guys know that this is personal to me. My sister lives in Minneapolis, so I am a little bit more sensitive to all this that's going on. But you know, this has escalated. The death of Alex Preddy and Renee Good has been declared homicides. So they're going to be looking into these. And, you know, ProPublica released the names of the guys who shot Alex Preddy. I'm not going to name them because that's not my job to do. If anybody wants to look it up, they can. It has not been released by Kristi Noem or the Department of Homeland Security, so I'm not verifying any of that. But, you know, if we're going to believe ProPublica's research, these were not guys that have been done through this quick and speedy intake and this like sudden influx of new agents. These were veterans. They've been, veterans of the Border Patrol, not like military veterans. These are guys that have been working on the force for decades. They're not, you know, quick trigger happy freaks. So what does this mean when they're saying that out of 3,000, I think it's closer to like 3,500 agents that have been brought into the city of Minneapolis, 700 are being taken back? Does this move the needle on public perception that this is kind of an overkill situation for the city? Kristen, I can jump in with you.
Yeah, so I like to be upfront about the fact that there are certain topics that I'm better versed on than others, and what's been going on in Minneapolis is not one that I feel I'm an expert on. But I say all of that simply to then give what I'm about to say more weight, which is that I think people like me who actually have not been paying a ton of attention, the message, the overall impression that people like me are getting is that things are out of control in Minneapolis, not only on the side perhaps of some of the rowdy protesters, but that the government and ICE has gotten out of control. And I know that there are some diehard MAGA people who have been apologists for the government totally 100% of the way on this. And I just don't understand that perspective, because it's pretty clear that ICE has been crossing the line. And these murders, these homicides, these deaths did not need to happen. I don't see where this could be construed as anything but, particularly Preddy, can be construed as anything other than an excessive use of force. And so what I'll say is this: if the Trump administration and ICE want to crack down on illegal immigration and they want to deport people, then they have to know that they're making themselves metaphorically targets for cultural opprobrium. And if you're going to do that, you have to walk the line. And they are not. They are weaving in and outside of the line. And in some cases, I think just throwing the line away. And so you cannot do that if you're already on shaky ground with people politically. This immigration stuff, even if you agree in principle with the Trump administration, this immigration stuff it's a hot potato. And the images and idea of agents going rogue and engaging in these almost, these excessive, almost paramilitary tactics, it's not good.
Yeah, Mo?
Kristen makes a great point, and I think I want to double down on it as far as there's a distinction that needs to be made. Ideologically, I can understand how someone would agree with the idea of immigration reform and immigration enforcement. But the distinction is the policies and tactics which have been employed, I don't think are defensible. In other words, if you're talking about these warrantless searches, we're talking about racial profiling, we're talking about the entering of private spaces and pulling people out of schools. It's one thing to be for legal immigration, but I'm not for picking up people at their asylum hearings who are trying to go about it the right way. I'm not for going to schools. I'm not for pulling people over and then pulling people out of their cars. So there has to be a distinction and understanding where we can be on the same page as far as wanting lawful and legal immigration to this country. But we should also be able to acknowledge that the policies and tactics which are being employed are unconstitutional in many instances, illegal in some, and also deadly. And we should not have room for unconstitutional, illegal, and deadly in the policies and tactics in the enforcement of immigration.
We touched on it for just a second last week, and to your point, Mo, speaking of entering private spaces illegally, they tried to raid the Ecuadorian consulate. And I don't know if you saw that video, but that's considered like foreign national soil. So they could have potentially started an international incident. But the people that were working there were able to, get them out and lock the door. But if you haven't seen that video, I suggest you look it up. It's pretty intense. These guys and they're not, like I said, they're not identified. They're not wearing anything that shows that they're federal agents. They're just in all black, masked, with their giant guns out. So again, it's like they look like they're going to be robbed or, rushed. It's just, it's all very scary and intense. So with the new rules that ended that partial shutdown last night, the body cams, hopefully the ending of the masks and the full identification that, if we can all get on the same page with how they need to be looking in a proper uniform, some of this stuff will temper down and they can get in. Because the argument that I keep hearing is that, Barack Obama deported this many people and Joe Biden deported this many people. It's like, well, that's not the point. The deportations and the numbers aren't the point. It's the cruelty is the point. It's the violence is the point. The terror is the point.
Well, and also, Miranda, people who say, oh, well, the other side did it, or the other side did it worse or had worse numbers. they just need to give that up because that never works. Okay. People, the right, yes, the right is always going to be judged more harshly on immigration stuff, just like the left is going to be judged more harshly on certain other issues. That's just how it is. So to waste time whining, like, well, nobody cared when Obama put kids in cages. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
because
they
he's on the
did.
left. Well, exactly too. But it's like, well, yeah, but he's on the left. That's how it is. If you're gonna do what Trump and his administration have decided to do, which is to go hardcore on immigration, which again, maybe theoretically that's necessary and it's great, understand though that you're gonna be, yes, you're gonna be put to a higher standard, and don't waste time whining about it. You've got to, that's why you got to toe the line even more. And at least Trump fired Christy Noem. I mean, that in my opinion, that was a long time coming. And I don't know, just her entire aesthetic was a joke. You can't go out there looking like that and telling me that you're going to be a serious professional woman with the blowout every day and the dangly earrings and all that. I'm probably not supposed to be going there, but what the hell is up with that?
Wait a minute. Did he fire her? Did I miss something?
Didn't yeah,
No,
didn't he?
not
Wait a
from my
minute.
information, but it's
Hang on a
supposed to be
second.
pending and possibly the next shoe to drop.
Oh, I thought that I thought he
Wow.
had sacked her or moved her aside. No?
No, she had a press conference earlier today, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I'm gonna look into
I
this.
was gonna say, well,
We're
maybe you
not
should
gonna
get rid of
report
her.
on that, but I 100% agree with you. She has got to go. Because the costumes and the dress up that's honestly like the only redeemable thing for me, because it's just so fun for me to see what she's going to show up in next. And if you haven't looked into it, and I'll find it and I'll send it to you later, Kristen, but there's a hilarious, I think it's an ad for her for when she was running in one of the Dakotas. I can't remember whatever state she's from, but
North Dakota, yeah.
yeah, she's like, I'm a dentist, and she's like in her dentist outfit, and she's like, I'm a mechanic, and she's in a mechanic outfit, and she's in all these different like occupations, and she's in the outfit. So this is
Uh-huh.
like her old shtick. This is her thing going way back when. She's like, I'm a postal worker, and she's driving the mail truck. So it's like this is her thing, and if she wants to dress up and
Well, I don't mind the costume
cosplay,
actually.
I love it.
What I mind is the combo of like trying to take the Barbie look and like
Oh,
meld
the
it with the
Mar-a-Lago
yeah,
face with the Spirit Halloween
dangly
aesthetic.
earrings and the
Yes.
blowout and all that. But that's just that's a personal thing. But I again like I'll keep saying this. If you're going to be hardcore on a hot potato issue like immigration, then just understand that you've got to toe the line. I mean, with extra care, and it feels like, and that's the opposite of what's happening. That you've got these guys, and maybe they're a minority, but some of these agents that are just going wild.
And you can't come out and just start making wild accusations about
Right,
people and their character when, in fact, like what
right.
all of the evidence points to is that they are the actual diametric opposite of everything that was said about them. Before we move on to our fun closer, which is going to be the insane mess that is this Super Bowl halftime show this weekend. I want to say hi to Elena, our favorite Elena in New York. Or no, you moved. So hi, Elena. You've got your hand up. Can we say hi to Elena real quick before we go?
Unmute.
Hi, Elena. There
There
you
we
are.
go. No, I actually moved from Rhode Island. I'm now in Baltimore.
Oh,
I
okay.
have been chatting with people in the chat, which I normally don't do, but I
That's
have
why
to
the
explain.
chat's popping off today. It's wild.
Right. Well, I'm going to say this is somewhat on point.
Okay.
I have been an independent for many, many years. I was allowed to vote in Rhode Island, but I sort of had to change. I had to decide, okay, I'll be a Democrat or I'll be a Republican to vote in the primaries. And then you had to switch back. It was a real pain in the neck. So they changed that. But there's about 14 states where people who are independent can't vote in the primaries. And that's a big problem. I really think the time has come. I know Mark Halperin does not agree with this, and a lot of the people on his show, that we really need a leadership change. And it's not going to come from the Democrats and it's not going to come from the Republicans, because where they've got themselves in is we're sitting here talking about how hard, remember when Biden was president, we were upset about the way things were going. Trump, now, okay, now we're upset about how things are going. The next person that gets elected, we're going to be explaining the same thing over and over. And we don't deserve that. 45% of Americans, according to Gallup, are independent because they've had it with the Democrats and the Republicans and what they are doing to our country and to us. all of this mess that's happening is because of government, whether it's in Minnesota, it's the state government, the federal government, and we can do much better, or we could do much, much better. I'm going to recommend, because I was on a meeting yesterday of open primaries, and the persons there's two independent veterans. They're veterans, and there's an organization called Independent Veterans of America, and they are getting veterans who are independent to run for office. And I am so excited about that. It was so exciting to see these gentlemen. They happen to be two men, but it could be a woman veteran. And I really think, I hope we could do like a show on this, because it's really important. We can have better. We don't have to be so, I get so upset about hearing all of this, seeing all of this, whether it's Epstein or ICE, or it's just always negative, negative, negative. We can have positive in this country, but we need the leadership for it. That's what I have to say.
I love that. And I'm going to look that up if someone can write that website in the chat so I can look at the transcript later.
It's really independent. I wrote it in the chat. Independent
Perfect.
Veterans of America. That's it.
Independent Veterans of America.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
Independent Veterans of America for anybody listening on the podcast.
All
Independent
right. I
Veterans of
love
America.
you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I miss
love you.
Megan. I can't wait for her to come back. I love you
I
too,
miss her
Elena.
too, but
I'm
I
so
just
glad
wanted to
see
tell you, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
I'm so nervous every second, but today's show has been very, very fun. I love this. I love this combo. I want you guys to come back every week. This is fun. Thank you, Elena. I want to talk to you guys really quick before we go, because we started late, so we have a couple of minutes, about Bad Bunny and Green Day versus the Turning Point alternative halftime show with Kid Rock and everybody else. And then also the Puppy Bowl, because that's probably what I'm going to end up watching after the NFL cuts to commercial. Because if everybody thought that Bad Bunny was the political choice that Jay-Z and Pepsi and Roger Goodell were trying to send to America, why did they add Green Day, who is very loud about how much they hate Trump and MAGA and ICE? And I mean, I was at a festival in Las Vegas in October, a few months ago, and I mean, they were chanting like F ICE, F Trump, F MAGA, no fascist USA, stuff like that. It was wild. I had a couple of palomas, so the video that I had to show you guys was not of good quality. I will not even trouble you with what I have. My footage is terrible, but you know, this is not gonna go well. I mean, I'm very excited for the chaos. It's gonna be like you know, when Bane took over the Steelers stadium, it's gonna be crazy. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't think that we're gonna get to see the full show. I don't know how this is gonna go. And maybe I'm overhyping it, or I'm getting myself too worked up. But Mo, you've produced big shows where anything and everything could go wrong, and has. What do you expect to see this weekend?
Touched upon some really important points. The chaos leads to ratings. People are going to tune in, if only, we had talked about this off the air,
Yeah.
if only because they want to see a car wreck. They want to see the train wreck. They want to see if this is all going to explode in the NFL's face. But there is something I think people who are against Bad Bunny performing, who are missing the larger issue. And the addition of Green Day cannot be misconstrued as anything other than a political addition, because if you worked in the music industry like me, you know where Green Day is coming from. They are not neutral. In other words, that's not a neutral decision. It's like,
oh, let me interrupt you for 1 second to give some context. They're from Oakland, the band, and Billy Joe Armstrong's wife, that he's been married to for 1,000,000 years, is from Minneapolis. So, I mean, they are for sure going to have some stuff to say. Please continue.
No, and in addition to that, that's the political aspect, and it adds to the chaos and the traffic accident factor where people want to look in, which helps ratings. But don't forget that the NFL is an international, worldwide business. They will have 9 games on foreign soil next season across 4 different continents and some 10 countries. When you have someone like Bad Bunny, you're not speaking, quote unquote, to an American audience. You're talking about the world audience, which the NFL is seeking. And so people may be offended by the choice of Bad Bunny. If you look at it through a business lens, It is in exact accordance with where they want to take the NFL brand. And if you take yourself and your personal local politics out of it, then you better understand the addition of Bad Bunny. Green Day, I can't make an excuse. That's straight up political, and you're going to get what you get with Green Day. Just like I always say, Bruce Springsteen. If they put Bruce Springsteen on the show, he's going to have something to say. Green Day is going to have something to say.
Kristen, does this feel like, a tribal pick a side? What are we getting into?
Yeah, I mean, it does. And Green Day, of course, I remember during the Bush Jr. administration that that produced one of
President
their
Gas Man. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
one of their best albums, actually. But since have been a little girl and way before then, artists have always leaned generally toward the left. And actually, we're in an interesting period right now, I think unprecedented, where it's actually more acceptable to be a right-wing artist or an artist who's open to the right than it ever has before. But you still also have this for lack of a better term, wokeness on the left. And so I'm sure, and again, the artists responding to what we've said are some legitimate issues in Minneapolis, some stuff that's crossing the line even for right-wing people. So yeah, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of political commentary in various forms at this Super Bowl. And what you're going to do. I did see that Turning Point is doing an alternative show with Kid Rock, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I still remember when Kid Rock was drugs, sex, and rock and roll. So it's a little bit funny to see Turning Point aligning itself with Kid Rock and Nicki Minaj lately, because they're not exactly Christian family values, but whatever. But I think that. I think it's inevitable. It's going to be politicized, and that's just something that we all find it annoying, but it's something that is inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, people change and people grow. I think Nikki's motives are self-serving at best for her MAGA flip, and we can get into that. But I'm so Kid Rock feels like the lowest common denominator de facto, like duh move. I mean, when we heard that Trump was taking over to the Kennedy Center, it's like, okay, well, and every night brought to you by Kid Rock. So it's like, oh, well, this was the obvious choice. I think Nikki would have been a way more surprising and interesting choice for them to have a headliner. I thought, that might have been worth tuning into. I still like some of her songs.
Oh, it definitely would have been more star power. Yeah. I mean, Kid Rock feels kind of like a has-been, I think, to most people.
Okay, okay. Anyway, yeah, brought to you by Natty Light. Okay, I don't want to watch that halftime show at all. That's really boring. So I will be tuning into the Bad Bunny Green Day show. Before we go, Mo, is there anything else you want to add to this? Because again, it's so exciting. I cannot wait to just see what happens on Sunday.
We live in amazing times, and I wonder how this is going to be chronicled by historians 50 years from now. I won't be here to see it, but I wonder how the future will look back on now in the way that we look back on the period during 1968, where you had the civil rights unrest, or periods during World War II, where we looked at the international unrest and what Hitler was doing. I'm not trying to make a direct correlation. I'm saying I wonder what the future will say about right now.
The 60s and 70s got better music than we're getting. So there is that. That's a bummer. Thank you, Mo and Kristen. This was so much fun. I just really appreciate you guys making the time to come in and talk with me, especially because Megan's not here, and I miss her so much. So you guys made this very easy and painless. Mo is Spectrum News and BBC Radio political contributor and host of the Mo Kelly Experience podcast. Find him at Mr. Mo Kelly on Threads and Instagram, and Colonel Kurtz, Kristen Lacefield, political commentator, cultural commentator, and independent new media journalist. Find her at Colonel Kurtz 99. Your Twitter X feed is everything. That is the best. And everything links back to that. I was just like refreshing it over and over again yesterday. Be like, what is she talking about? What is she talking about? So it was a lot of fun to make the notes off of that today. So a lot of fun. And there's so many things that we didn't get to that is on your feed about like the Billie Eilish on native stolen land stuff is just, so anything that we didn't get to, Kristen's got to
check it out
on there. It's really good. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back next week. I don't remember who my guests are, so we'll find out together. Okay. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.